Hi everyone, welcome to this NYC Showdown race review, Times Square circuit, 6 laps today. I've just did this one the other day. I've just not had enough time to actually get the recording done. So this might be a bit rough around the edges, but I just wanted to get this out there. So it's a bit unusual, this one. I was actually riding during the day because I was actually off work this week, so it was quite nice to actually race in the daylight at the moment, and it was a bit warmer as well, which I think probably actually helped with the result with this one. So over the past couple of days, I've done the VirtuSlo event, and I was really trying to pick up some lessons that I've learned off that. It was a lot longer race. Maybe 40 kilometers or something like that, with sort of similar sharp sort of ramps, but I was putting way too much effort into those, and it really cost me in the end. So the objective of this one, obviously to come in the top half, I always try and set that as an objective, but really just to kind of moderate my effort on this one, not spend too much energy. And you can see on the first climb I've kind of shot out the front, but not really putting a load of energy down, just trying to make sure that we stay in contact with this guy off the front, although I was really telling myself not to kind of follow any attacks, not get sucked into the drama at the front of the race, especially not until the late laps. You know, it's completely pointless really, especially on these short races. A big group, 68 people in this one, so the chances of getting away, you'd really have to commit. I think you'd have to try and get a small group as well. So I just wanted to try and stay with the front group, not expend too much energy, use draft. These ramps aren't too steep, so the pace is quite high up them. And you can see that first one I think was quite successful. So my BPM is about 177 at the top, and yeah, not too bad. That's a fairly good heart rate for me. Once I'm getting up to about 180, that's when questions are starting to be asked. And you can see I kind of look fairly relaxed on the camera as well. I do always pull some funny faces, but you can kind of tell, you know, shoulders are okay, arms are okay, looking happy as well. And the other thing I maybe got lucky with on this race is the draft vans. I was one of the only people that was using the draft at this point, whether that was a good idea or not, but I was just using it to, you know, just hang around at like 150 watts, not really put much effort in, save all those matches, not have to you know, even go into threshold on those sections. So again, just really moderate my effort up here, staying kind of mid-pack, slowly kind of moving to the front, so I don't want to go too easy, and I keep the legs moving, and then kind of just drifting towards the front. And you know, another sort of 350 watt cost there. And again, you can just see I'm using this drafting boost again, at more or less the same position, kind of dipping into zone 3 there, zone 2, top end of zone 2, and you can see my heart rate has come down from sort of 170 to about 150. Don't want to get it too low, just so kind of staying active, but you know, all good from that perspective. And I think I did get quite lucky with the power-ups on this. I kind of didn't care about the aero until the last lap, and spoiler alert, that's more or less when I got it, although there's a bit of a twist there as well. And the third climb, so this is where I'm starting to think, well, if people are going to attack, they're either going to attack now or possibly, you know, on the kind of the last 2 laps. So see some people going off the front and thinking, right, well, I'll just put an effort down on this one, sort of dip into 6.5 watts per kilo, 7 watts per kilo, and then we do get back on again. And we can see there's a few people off the front. And I'm trying my best not to get involved in these because I'm terrible for it. But I do just start seeing everything kind of stretch out at this point. There's a couple of people chasing that pack. I think, right, okay, now's the time to go. Don't want to lose contact. So even though we've got a big group working pretty well together in this race, you know, if you get kind of 5-10 people off in a kind of a front breakaway, then those can stay away. And it turns out it all kind of stretches out, kind of an accordion effect, and comes back in again anyway. And that's really the story of these last few laps as well. So this is where I actually got my aero. So I was continuously using that draft fan on the bottom. Finally got an aero, and just at this point I'm thinking, right, well, I've got another opportunity for a power up, but if I stay on okay here, I'm actually just going to keep it, sacrifice having one, and we'll just keep that aero for the last lap, because worst case I use it and then I end up with the draft fan again, which isn't ideal for, obviously, for the final sprint. A couple of people just going off the front again, so putting down a bit of an effort, but my heart rate is okay at this point, just kind of clinging on the back, just kind of marking them, I guess, just making sure no one gets away too far. Again, just kind of trying to stick at the back, just use whatever draft there is. Speed's noticeably faster, or I've got noticeably slower on this one, so having to just put a bit more of an effort in at this point, but we get to the top and everything kind of just comes back in again. So I think definitely I could have probably stayed a bit further towards the back, and we see there is an attack here on this on here, which is where it was always going to happen, I think. I do end up finding myself, whether I was sleeping, whether I just not, you can see my BPM, it isn't as far down as it was on the previous laps, so you can see the pace is picking up. Didn't get the draft fan, obviously, to use that to drop it back down. I do find myself towards the back here, so I think, right, well, here we go, gonna have to dip into the 6.5-7 watts per kilo up this first ramp. And it's not actually too bad. Kind of just drift off to the front. Again, because the pace is so high, kind of get to use that draft really, and I just end up getting fairly close. My only problem at this point is, obviously, I've now burnt a couple of matches trying to catch back up. But I keep thinking, as long as I get to the top of here, then, we're on for a sprint finish. The worry for me, obviously, with these types of races, because they're so small in terms of distance and time, you don't get that kind of full fatigue for everyone, so my kind of pitiful sprint doesn't really come into play. So I'm thinking maybe I should just go early, 500 meters, and try and take advantage of just trying to hold kind of moderate watts rather than going into a big sprint against people that I know I'm not going to beat. Another move off the front, but again, this pack is still so big that it seems safe to kind of just let things come back together again. Quite enjoyed this course, just the way everything's not quite flat even on the flat sections. Gives them opportunities to not just completely get dropped. Now this is where I have to put a bit of energy down just to get back into the pack. I know there's only about 600 meters to go, and I actually find myself drifting off the front. This wasn't intentional, but I think, right, there's an opportunity here. I'm just going to put the aero down. It's very early, even for me, but let's just go for it. And we see it works pretty well. Kind of always wish I could have put a bit more effort down. Kind of sit back down a little bit. And I just get pipped at the post by a few people. Kind of very close. It's a bit of a shame. But in the back of my head, I was saying to myself, you do have the TTTZ later as well, so I didn't want to. That's my excuse. So critical power, obviously, you know, it's pretty much personal best area. So happy with the effort, happy with the pace. Overall, you know, really happy with the race actually. Just improving on the mistakes from the VirtuSlo event last Sunday. And what made me happy even more, just coming up now, is it was predicted around 24th and came 6th. So, you know, you can't really be too upset with that. So on to the next one. We'll see how we do. Cheers for watching.